So, you want to know the steps on how you can perfect any speech at any time? I'm going to share it with you. So, you're here because you probably want to improve your public speaking. Now, I know before we get started, one of the most feared things that people have is public speaking. But the reality is that no matter what you are involved in, no matter what job, no matter your activities that you're doing, you are definitely using your mouth, you are using your voice, you are using your face, you are doing the movements, you're expressing to other people on what it is that you want to do. Now, I'm not saying this because I'm, a TEDx talk speaker or I travel stages and talk and all of this stuff. I'm doing this just to simply help you communicate your message. I truly believe that you have a story that you can share with the world, and through sharing that story, you can truly impact someone. So I wanted to do this video and show you exactly the steps and the process that I have been going through in order to perfect and improve my communication and my public speaking skills. If you don't know who I am, my name is Maxim Cruz. I am a real estate broker as well as a real estate investor. And back in 2011, my wife and I, we bought our first 4-unit property using an FHA loan, and now I teach people on how they can do this, on how they can live essentially rent-free and have income-producing properties. I also represent investors that want to acquire and dispose of income-producing properties in the Miami market and really all through the United States. But this video is all about our communication. So I'm not sure if you've heard, but there's this organization, okay? It's called Toastmasters. Now, the motto of Toastmasters is where leaders are made, okay? So Toastmasters is all about getting comfortable with public speaking, delivering your message, and also becoming a leader. So in this video, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you my most recent Toastmaster speech that I did impromptu. I was there. The president of Toastmasters, Gary, who's a good friend of mine, asked me, hey, do you want to speak tonight? I had nothing prepared. I had nothing going on. And I said yes, okay? And one of the first things that Toastmasters teaches you is to take the opportunity whenever you get the opportunity to speak, say yes, okay? Face the fear. That's going to be one of the points that we talk about later on, but let's go ahead. I'm going to give you the first step, okay? Then I'm going to show you the video of that Toastmasters talk that I did with some of the critiques, with some of the points that were brought up at the end. And then I'm going to come back on the video and let you know exactly what steps I did and kind of how I structured the speech and what went into it. But let's go ahead and start with step one, which is really, really the most important one. The most important one is really one, knowing your audience, okay? The people that are going to be listening to your message, okay? Either if you have pets or if you have children or if you have a family, if you have a spouse, if you have someone that you work with closely, if you are in sales or if you're in any sort of marketing and you have a message that you need to communicate, the first step is understanding who is the individual that you are speaking with that is going to be receiving this message, okay? Again, if you have pets, and for those that have dogs like myself, if you're yelling at your dog and you want them to do something, they can definitely hear your tonality, see your body expression, see your eyes, see your hands, and they have fear. The same exact thing, the same exact reaction we get as human beings when other individuals approach us with a certain type of tonality, with a message, with an aggressiveness, and we might get push back, or we might not want to do anything or deal with that individual just because of how the message is being communicated. But again, the first scenario is understanding your audience. Who is it that you are going to communicate your message to? So as I mentioned, the speech that I delivered, it was impromptu. I had nothing prepared. This is based on Brian Tracy's 7 steps to achieving your goals. So again, the message that I was delivering, this Toastmasters group that I attend is called the Young Professional Entrepreneurs. If you're in the Miami area, I definitely invite you to come out. We get different people to come out all of the time. There are no fees for you to come and join us if it's your first time or a couple of times. We do allow a certain number of attendants, and then if you do decide to become a member, we can get you all the information that you are looking for and all the benefits of being a Toastmasters member. So again, that is YPE Toastmasters here in Miami, Florida. So again, the individuals that were in that room were all young professional entrepreneurs. So the first step is, because I knew the audience, because they're in that entrepreneurship journey and they're trying to discover, or some of them are successful, I know that they have goals, and some of them might be or are going through a process where they're struggling with goal setting, or they're trying to figure it out. So I wanted to deliver this message and hopefully have an impact on them and allow them to absorb a system where they can actually achieve the goals that they set. So let's go ahead, tune into that video, and then I'll come back on and let you know all the other things that went into my speech. So here it is.
Come on down.
I'll time, Max.
All right, cool.
How long do I have?
Huh?
3 minutes? Five.
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 All right, nice. Also, disclaimer, I love Max Cruz.
Ah,
He was not prepared today. And this is what's great about Toastmasters is that once in a while there's a little pop quiz, right? And so Max Cruz, I just want you to know that everybody here, we're rooting for you. We got you. We're on Team Cruz. What's your number? You got a jersey. What's your number?
24.
Number 24. Okay,
Okay.
we're
on,
rooting for you. Go for it.
Sounds good. All right, welcome everyone here. I think we are in a very, very special place because we have such amazing people here with so many purposes. And my talk today is going to be very short, very brief, but it's actually going to be the 7-step method on how to achieve your goals. But before we get into that 7-step method, I actually need your help on something. Does anyone here have a goal?
Yeah.
If you have a goal, raise your hand, okay? Now, I need your help with a certain exercise. Let's change that word goal to something else, okay? Just shout it out. Another word for goal. Anybody? Another word for goal.
destination.
Destination, another one.
Vision.
Vision, another one.
Intention.
Intention, another one.
Objective.
Objective, another one.
Aspiration.
Aspiration, another one. Come on, there's got to be a couple more. Mission, vision, okay? We're getting close?
Okay, wait a minute.
Okay. Kiana actually said it earlier, and the word is legacy, okay? What if we all took a little brain hack and said, hey, I no longer have a goal, but now my goal is my legacy, okay? How much more impact would we be able to have if we said, hey, I'm no longer working towards just going and opening that door, because if somebody stops me or if I trips, it's easy for me to kind of quit and go backwards and look at this other way. It's my legacy now to go and move in that direction until I open this door, bust it open, and then nobody else can tell me that I didn't do it because I achieved my legacy. So sometimes in the day that we live in today, we have this word goal, and we forgot about what it is. You know, the thing about mission, the thing about vision, the aspiration, how easy it is to lose that mission, that aspiration, whatever it is that's pushing towards us. But if we're at this brink where we're like, man, I got to do this legacy, I got to do it no matter what, then you start to mind hack and say, hey, you know what? If I don't get this done, my legacy is not that I did not achieve that goal. My legacy is that I didn't achieve my legacy. Okay? And when we switch up that word goal for legacy, that starts to mind hack, and now we can start to think about, okay, what is it that we're going to do? So let's get into the 7 steps on how to achieve our legacy, goal, aspiration, vision, whatever it is that you want to call it. So step number 1, okay, is determining exactly what it is that you want. And once you determine it, I'm sure all of us here might have read Think and Grow Rich about envisioning something, just having that belief that we're going to be able to achieve this thing and maybe have that goal, having that aspiration of what we're working towards, right? So the first thing is to determine it. Once you determine it, the second step is to write it down, okay? There's a neuromechanical connection of actually taking a piece of paper, taking a pen, putting it down there and actually putting it and saying, hey, this is exactly what I want. The third step, which is very important, is set a deadline. And my mentor, okay, recently told me something that completely changed my vision and changed my focus on my goals and my legacy. And I hope I have the same impact with you tonight as he did with me a couple weeks back. The thing is that there's no unrealistic goals. There's just unrealistic deadlines. Every one of you here, you have a legacy, you have a vision, you have something that you're working towards, and you know that you're going to achieve it. Just not might be in the next 15 days, it might not be in the next 30 days, it might not be even in the next 30 years. But because you see it and it's so strong and you're working towards it, that is the power that is going to allow you to achieve it in X amount of time. So it's better to be very close and saying, hey, I'm going to achieve this in 6 months and get it in 7 months than say, hey, this is just unrealistic and I'm not going to work with it. So don't lose your goals, okay? Step number 4 is create a list of all the possible activities that you can do in order to achieve that goal. Because now it starts to become real. You start to see the steps. This is everything that I can possibly do. So now all of a sudden it's not, it's no longer unrealistic. It is becoming realistic because you have all the steps. Step number 5 is to organize that list based on the logical steps and the priorities. What makes the most sense for you to go ahead and do step number 1, and what's the most important thing for you to do in order to achieve that goal and that legacy, okay? Step number 6 is actually, again, prioritizing. Prioritizing, again, what has to be the next thing that you do? What's the most important step that you need to take? And the final step is doing that activity every single day. Because you know what? If you don't do those activities every single day, you are the only one that stood in the path to not achieving your legacy. So that's my message for you today.
Wow.
Ready, 3, 2, 1, mic drop. That's how you do it.
And on time.
Hey, so what'd you think? Comment below, let me know your thoughts. Before I go ahead and jump on the whiteboard here and break down the steps, let me just share with you the Toastmasters structure. So typically for a speech like this, once you deliver the speech or if you do introductions, there'll be kind of a critique, okay? And it's a good critique. It's something for you to build. It's individuals that are there. We had everyone from David Octavio Gandell, who's a TedX speaker, 2 times cancer survivor, big time influencer, has a women's coaching program. We had Gary Arias, who's been in stages as many as 10,000 people introducing other speakers. He's currently the president of Toastmasters. We had our district manager who's also there, who's also sponsoring a Toastmasters in his organization and his corporate structure with over 2,000 employees, right? So there's all these individuals that may be at a higher level than you are, and that can give you pointers because they're already going through it. And not only that, but you could also learn from the individuals that are not public speakers, that are just hearing your message. Okay, did they not understand something? Were you not clear? So before I go ahead and break down these steps, let me just go ahead and play the critiques and the constructive criticism that went into it so you could kind of see that structure, and then I'll go ahead and explain to you all the steps and how I structured that speech and even some of the things I missed. So check this out.
That's how you do it.
And on
Right
time.
the
Come
money.
on now.
That was not an off-the-chain speech. He knew his material.
Yeah, that's been
Well, I've been
very-
practicing it, so it works.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's do feedback. Raise your hand if you'd like to give
But I think you had
Max Cruz some
one.
feedback.
Brad, that was
Diaz,
at number
one?
6.
I thought I had one.
No,
What-
you had 1 at 6.
So phenomenal material.
Yeah.
You've certainly practiced this, rehearsed, and gone through it, even perhaps not out loud, perhaps just in your mind, but you're very familiar with the material. What I would say is, if you break it all out and take a look at it, it just seemed a little heavy in the front, all on step 1. Now, sure, you were setting yourself and building up, but then you got to the end of where you wanted to go with one, he flashes you a time and you went, oh crap, I gotta race through the rest of these 7 steps because I just hit step 1 and I hit my minimum time. So I would suggest, at least when you're calling out in the initial part, which is great, involving the audience, fantastic. In the initial parts, hit 3 and then drop it after that, then go with where you want it. You were still just popping around the room, playing off the audience was fantastic, but that ate up at least 30 seconds, 45, maybe a minute of extra time that you could have invested into steps 3, steps 4, maybe just try and make it a little bit more even instead of a race to hit your mark.
Thank you, good point. Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah, that was probably a 10-minute speech or a 7-minute
Yeah,
speech.
you didn't really.
That would have been a speech because you had to, and the other thing you could have said, since you knew you were gonna be timed, was don't give us all the steps, just say the steps, because we don't know there's 7 of them. And because again, you're on a time schedule, because this would be a great 7 to 10-minute speech, including the audience. Your volume was great, your participation was great, your hand movements, everything, mannerisms were great. But yeah, like you kind of rushed it because you had to. Now, one thing that you have to understand is that this happens all the time when you're speaking. As a keynote speaker, they give me a certain amount of time, but they still give me a time. And the other thing is, you gotta remember that when you're in an audience, people are gonna stand up, people are gonna sit down, people are gonna sneeze, people are gonna cough, the phone's gonna ring. There's things that are going on, so when you see me walking around, that's part of the test, is I wanna see where your attention span is. So that's what Toastmasters is. We're teaching you a lot of little things that you might not even pay attention to, but you will. Eventually, you're gonna catch on to it. And it's how you're gonna look at me moving around or giving you signals or somebody giving you, I got 4 minutes, and you still are paying attention to the audience and not letting that disturb you, okay? So if you're gonna speak in front of large audiences, you're gonna get used to people getting up, and they're not getting up, they might just have to go to the bathroom. But a lot of people, when I watch these conferences and things, I see that they still haven't even perfected that. They get this, and then all of a sudden you forget where you're going. You forget everything that you're saying, okay? So hopefully those little things when you watch me walking or Gary or any of these things that we do little hand signals, is because we're trying to see, can we get your attention, so we can talk about it, because this is why you're here. This is not perfect. You're here because we want to teach you, and if you're teachable, then we're able to help you and perfect your skills.
Thank you, David. My feedback for you, Max, you've been with us for a little bit now. This is the most dialed in I've seen you. Confidence, 10.
Yeah.
Dialed in, 10. Focus, 10. Mannerisms, just super professional. I'm very proud of you. I've seen the growth, and as president, I get to see, well, as a community, we all see your growth. And it's great to see the before and after, right? It's great to see the in progress and the, wow, that's the final product. So a lot of you guys are newbies here, you're first timers, right? First at bat, but just know that we're watching you and we're here to help you improve your game. And Max, I just want to congratulate you because I've seen you at bat, and I think you hit a home run, so great job. Great job.
Hey, so let me know what you thought about that. Comment below on things that you believe that I could improve as well. But let me just go ahead and kind of break up and show you what my quick process was and what are some of the things that I've learned in Toastmasters and just following other speakers, learning from them, writing out speeches, and kind of how I was able to deliver this message on the go. So first of all, as I had mentioned, kind of the biggest point is knowing your audience, because the majority of the individuals there were young professional entrepreneurs. They were into that entrepreneurship journey. I want to do something with goals versus talk about, maybe real estate or something that's more specific to what I do. I wanted to really connect with the audience, okay? A big point here that you probably saw that was missed in the video was typically it's always good to reintroduce yourself. So just so you know, the way that we structure the Toastmasters is when everyone gets there, we kind of do a little bit of networking, and then we kind of get up there and we do a 30 to 60 second introduction at the beginning of the Toastmasters. So everyone had already introduced themselves, people already knew who I was. And also another point here, have someone introduce you. So by Gary giving me the introduction, that kind of, since he's the organizer, he's the president, he's transferring that authority in order for me to deliver my speech. So that's a very good point. If you could have someone introduce you, if even, if you can have kind of a quick one paragraph, 3 or 4 sentences about you, what you do, kind of what your background is, so that way you control on what that introduction is, and then you could tie that into your speech. Okay, the next thing is introducing your topic. So when I started, I mentioned, you probably saw that I kind of had to do it quick, so I was still thinking about how I was going to do it, but I said, okay, the topic that I'm going to be speaking to you tonight is going to be the 7-step method to achieving your goals. So right away, I introduce your topic. What it is that you will be speaking about. So ask yourself that question and kind of reiterate what it is. It's very powerful to use numbers. For example, if you tell someone, hey, I'm going to be teaching you the 7-step method to achieving your goals, they already know, hey, we're at step number 3, there's 4 more to go, so you're kind of doing that. At the same time, as David mentioned, in his constructive criticism, if I would have just have the steps instead of these 7 steps, or if I would have ended my speech and say, hey, unfortunately, I've ran out of time. If you want to know the other 2 steps, come and see me at the end and I could tell you what they are. But then I kind of rushed it at the end. So it could kind of help you and hurt you at the same time. That's kind of what I saw with that. Okay, the next thing is engaging your audience. Right in the beginning, what I tried to do was I didn't just want to say, hey, this is what I'm going to talk about and just go right into it and just hammer my point and not engage the audience. So right away, because we already had the introductions and I knew what everyone was, I kind of wanted to steer it in a direction where people would start to think a little bit differently and start to say, hey, she mentioned something about legacy. So right away, I pop that question. I say, hey, I'm sure that everyone here has goals, but what if we had another word for it? Why don't you name off? So that's actually a strategy that a lot of speakers use and you can utilize yourself, when you're conducting a speech. Start off with a question, right? Ask a question. What is it that what do you think? What do you believe? Can I have your opinion on this and this? Again, don't try to make it so open so then you're going to get a whole bunch of people just shouting things. I was very specific. Give me a word that replaces goals, and that's how I got people from the audience to engage. And by being interactive, I'm capturing their attention, okay? The next thing is kind of a story. So in human relationships, in human communication, we communicate with stories. We share what it is that we know, what it is, the experiences that we go through, how we relate those experiences, something. So I tried to start off with a story kind of showing what it is like walking along the path of your legacy, and then if you're stopping yourself and you're turning around, you're giving up on your legacy and your purposes. That's where I went and I utilized the room and saying, hey, if my legacy is to open this door, you can actually see me walk towards the door, and then I go a little bit off frame, off camera, where I grab the handle, open the door, and that kind of shows, boom, the completion of that. So try to utilize the room that's around you, and at the same time, if you have a powerful story that you can deliver with your message, that can help you as well, okay? The next kind of thing is, again, relatable to the point that you're trying to deliver. The next thing is delivering your message. Say what it is that you're going to say. So after I engaged the audience, they were there, and I kind of visualized, see that they're tuned in, I went in right into the points. As you saw, I did go a little bit quick into it, but nevertheless, your next step is to deliver your message, okay? Try to relate, be human. One mistake I'll auto-criticize myself here that I made is I kept on saying you. I'm sure there's someone in the crowd here that is doing this. When you do this, and that, it can work in some deliveries where you're trying to really relay a message of what the action steps that that individual or the group of individuals should take or have to take in order to achieve something. But here I believe that if I would have used the words we, us, we're all working towards a goal of leaving a legacy behind. And one of the things that all of us have in common is X, Y, and Z. And when we do this by, going ahead and writing our goals down, you see that's different when saying, hey, what the next step that you need to do is you need to take, it kind of is more forceful versus the we and the us is a lot more relatable, and we're in this together. And that is one thing that I missed, because you want to, capture your audience, because in reality, we're all in this together. I really try to relate to them and saying, hey, I can possibly, I don't know exactly where you are in your journey, but I'm sure you've heard of these goal setting and all of this stuff. So if this is where you're at, this is what I've experienced, this is how I was able to get through it. And now I want to share my story so we together as a group can go ahead and achieve our goals together. That was kind of what I was going towards, that message, and I feel like I missed it. So as I have the opportunities to do this on camera, to deliver this message to you and to the world, it allows me to improve my communication, and then it's just exercise, and I'll get to that point, okay? Next thing is posture. A lot of the times you saw me standing there, I like to move my hands, it's just my natural thing. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing it a lot and it might distract some things. I've actually toned it down a little bit, because originally when I started, my hands were up here. Now I try to keep them, right around here, right below the waist. And I really try to do this. Maybe you saw me having my hands like this or having my hands a little bit crossed. You don't want to do this type of posture because it kind of closes you in, it separates you. At the same time, you don't really want to put your hands behind your back, because what ends up happening is, because your hands are behind your back, you're forcing your shoulders down, so you're going down like this, and it might come off like you're talking down to somebody. I don't know if you've ever been to one of these classes or courses, or if you went to school and you had your grammar teacher or your history teacher kind of walking around when you were taking the exam and doing this. But all this thing, it kind of relates to that superiority type thing, like your teacher, your professor is above you, and when you're delivering a message, you don't want to have that posture that relates to that. You want to be more open, you want to be more leaning back, having your hands open, expressing yourself that way. So posture is key here. Then once you saying your message and you're relating what it is that you're trying to do, the next thing is to always have a good conclusion. Here, if I would have had more time, it would have been a good opportunity to say, hey, I can go and repeat the 7 steps, step 1, step 2, step 3, and that would have allowed for those individuals that might have missed the points to kind of write them down, or if they were halfway on point number 4, get the full point and write it down. So by repeating your message, it allows you to kind of conclude with that. And one thing that I did miss, and again, I was time pressured here, but I still could have grabbed that opportunity at the end, and I missed it. I forgot to thank the audience for their time. It's very important that when you're delivering a speech, that you understand that the individuals that you're communicating to, you that are watching this video right now, you could do anything that you want with your time, and I appreciate your time by you watching this, and I truly believe that some of the points that I mentioned here will help you in your communication, in your speaking career, if that is what you decide to do, even if you're in sales, in your day-to-day life. If you just start to think and kind of take a minute and kind of slow down and strategize and say, hey, if I'm going to communicate about, with my partner, with my spouse, with my kids, with my coworkers about achieving something, and I don't want to fight, but I want to resolve that situation, how do I structure this? Do I know my audience? How do I introduce myself? How do I introduce the topic so that way I'm relating? Do I ask maybe with a question, So all of these things, and again, I want to thank you for your time and watching this, but I missed that at the end. I should have said right when they said time, instead of me just saying, hey, this is all the time I have, right there I had the opportunity to say, thank you for your time and listening to this, and you can come and see me afterward if you need any clarification or something along those lines, right? So I kind of missed that. So with all that being said, again, I appreciate your time watching this. Let me know in the comments below if you have any other things that you can add to these things. Again, this is in the Toastmasters. When you go into the education courses, there's so much materials and tools that they have available, so you can kind of learn the different types of speeches that you can deliver and how each one of them has kind of a structure to it. So you can play around with those structures as you move around to it. But what I wanted to say here as I wrap up is Toastmasters is really like going to the gym and exercising. It's about going and exercising your mouth, delivering your communication skills. So, I encourage you, go and find your local Toastmasters, practice it. If you're afraid of doing live video, live video is great because, nobody is watching you on the other end. What do you have to lose? The worst thing that can happen is if the recording is not that good, you just delete it and that's it. The world doesn't see it. But being in front of the audience, being able to speak in front of one person or 10 people or 100 people or 1,000 or 10,000, there's something in that. You have to dominate the stage. You have to dominate your fear. A lot of people are afraid of public speaking. So there's a lot that goes into it. And that's why the Toastmasters message is really about building leaders. So it will empower you to become a leader of yourself, of your family, of your office culture, of your work environment, of anything that you're trying to do, church organization, whatever it is that you're trying to do. Communication is super, super important. So with that, I'd like to invite you, I'm going to go ahead and add David Octavio Gandell's speech here as well, and then I'll let it play through until the end of the criticism, and hopefully that will encourage you to go and check out your local Toastmasters. And again, if you are in the Miami area, you want to come and check us out, we are the YPE, Young Professional Entrepreneur Toastmasters. We meet every first and third Monday of the month. We try to meet in the downtown Miami area, but go ahead and either send me a message or just check us out, yptoastmasters.com. You'll be able to see our next events and the locations there. You could also search us on Facebook or Instagram, and you could find more information on there as well. So with all that, enjoy David's speech. He's definitely a super, super speaker. He's been on the Steve Harvey show. He's been a TEDx speaker, and just the content that he delivers is super powerful. And you'll be able to see how he delivers that message. And then at the end, when we go in and we give him constructive criticism, how he takes it and how he realizes what he can do to improve his speech. So again, thank you for your time. Go ahead and watch David's speech, and I'll see you on the next video.
Introductions.
All right. So are you guys ready for our keynote speaker?
Yes.
Can everyone please stand up? All right.
I need to keep you with me, bro.
Yeah.
You gotta travel with me everywhere.
All right, here we go. So we're all going to do a 5-second countdown all together. You guys are ready? All together. 5,
4,
3, 2, 1.
Show me some love. Yes. Our next speaker, he's a keynote speaker, inspirational life changer, 2-time cancer survivor, and now he's a TEDx speaker. Give it up for David Octavio Gandell. Just a little preview.
All right. So Max, at 5 minutes, please let me know. At 6 minutes, let me know. Okay. Don't start me yet. I just want to make some comments. How do you like this, by the way? You guys enjoying this?
Yes.
Can you see yourself like coming every month and or every 2 weeks and bringing something to the table?
Yes, sir.
And inviting a friend? So, before I start, I wanted to touch on a couple things that I heard from some of your speakers today. One was relatable. A lot of people today, for some reason, were able to be relatable. The other thing is they were able to be truthful. Okay? One of the things that I always speak about is your truth and your story will reveal your purpose. And when you speak about that, when I critiqued a couple of you about you actually opening up and telling your truth, or you're living your purpose and you're speaking about what you want to do, all of a sudden your voice changes and you become bolder, more direct, and more open. And those are the things that engage people, okay? So, Max, hit it. So no, I did not plan this speech. Usually what I do is I listen to everybody in the room and I look at certain things that might engage someone. But the reason that I'm alive, like Gary said, I'm a 2-time cancer survivor. I was diagnosed with terminal cancer 2 times. The second time, I had to battle for my life. Survived 98 chemotherapies and a 12-hour surgery and became a case study. I am a statistic, but I am the survivor, not the other statistics. I was given 3 days to live. In July 11th, I'm going to be 13 years cancer-free. So this is the reaction I normally get. Why is it so important that people feel the need to clap or appreciate when someone says they're cancer-free?
Courage.
Courage, what else?
Resilience.
Resilience, what else?
It's a testament of a miracle.
Testament was a testimony, what else?
Faith. Hope.
Faith and hope. My message is very simple. Find hope, have faith, and live every day with a purpose. Purpose. The one thing that everybody in this world is looking for. The one thing that most people don't ever get to live. When I go to a hospital or I meet somebody that's dying, or someone that is suffering, or someone that is lonely, or someone that is depressed, or someone that doesn't want to live anymore, the main reason is they don't know their existence or legacy, like somebody mentioned. They don't know their meaning of life. They don't know what they're supposed to do. And I listened to a young lady talk about the one thing that she doesn't want is her family, because her family might be defining or try to define who she is. I wrote 4 seminars after coaching over 100 women, and I called it Empowering Women in the Now. And I launched a series, I'm doing a conference this year called My Purpose 2020. That don't dream your life, live your dreams. The Women's Breakthrough Conference. And for the last 3 years, I've been doing those seminars, and I found out that the biggest seminar wasn't Release the Greatness Inside of You. Even though it sounds really great, it sounds awesome. It's like a Les Brown speech, it's like a Tony Robbins speech. I'm getting ready to release the meaning of my existence. But the best seminar for me is actually my first one, Defining You and Those Around You. And when I listen to some of you today talk about your truth, and I listen to someone tell me that they don't want to be defined by their family, that the one thing that's trying to hold them back is that. I felt like I needed to switch my message today and share with you that you are the only one that defines you. No one in this world has earned the right to define you. No one. Earn. You guys look at earning as potential, right? As currency. Who has invested in you enough to tell you what you're supposed to do with the rest of your life? Who's invested in you enough to tell you they are going to control your life? Can you answer that question? Because I know the worth of a car. I know the worth of a home. I even know the worth of a Bitcoin. But I certainly know that my life has a lot more worth than to let a human being tell me that they are going to tell me what the rest of my life is going to look like. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have mentors, and that doesn't mean we don't have people we listen to. We do, because again, God will put people in your life to guide you through a process. He will. And when you do, you'll know inside that you confirm and you have an affirmation that that is what you're meant to do. I have a saying that Gary knows is, I say, I show up and God shows off. Everywhere I show up, I pray before I show up. Even today, I pray before I show up. And then I let God take care of the rest. Why? Because God is the only one that I owe anything to, because I was given 3 days to live. But yet, I'm standing in front of 20-something people today, right? I am here, right? So, if I'm here, God proved everybody wrong. So now I found my purpose through cancer. I don't know how much you know about the David story, right? David and Goliath. Everybody know that story? Even if you're not, you do know what David did. He beat a giant, but he was the last person that anybody ever thought that could beat that giant. And I was given no hope to live through cancer. But what I loved about that story is that Goliath revealed David's purpose. Cancer revealed mine. For the last 13 years, I've been sharing a story that I made a promise that I would do. I said, God heal me, I will tell your story, and I've been able to do that. But what I found out it was that what I thought that cancer would lead to would be just me giving people hope and inspiration to survive through any challenge. What I didn't know is that I was going to be a life coach. I didn't know I was going to coach women. I didn't know I was going to listen to over 60% of my clients tell me about their abuse. What I didn't know is that women were going to confess their body imaging addiction issues. What I didn't know was that, fill in the blank. There's still a lot that I don't know. But I will tell you one thing that I do know. I know my purpose. So I ask you today, do you know yours? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is David Octavio Gandell. I am an inspirational life changer, a 2-time cancer survivor, and I hope for the rest of my life that I can continue to inspire millions to not only find hope, have faith, and live with purpose, but to be a miracle in someone's life today. God bless you guys. Thank you.
David deserves a standing ovation because you guys just witnessed it. I witnessed this a few years ago, and it was profound. It's very powerful to be able to do that. I'm still in the process of doing that, to tell your story, right? To be very authentic and pure and honest, and put your hand on your heart, because if I felt it, I know you felt it. It's very profound, and I think that's what's amazing, that when you take public speaking and then you infuse it with your story and purpose, and you give it all you have, this is the type of impact that you can have. You can have a standing ovation. You can pierce everybody in the room, because there's some speakers that they just pierce 1 or 2 people, but to pierce everybody in the room. And what happens is that when David, what I love about his story is that when he pierces you, it stays there. It doesn't go anywhere. So I heard this story many, many years ago, and it's still there. So this is why I love bringing him to be a keynote speaker, because you get to see the powerful, that once you take the communication and infuse it with purpose and your why and your story, it takes your public speaking to another level. And it's very profound. And thank you, David, for doing that. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to do, we're pressed for time, but I just want to do maybe a little feedback. Brandon, you get a little feedback?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily about what he says, because we all received the power of what you said, but it was how you said it that will also really helped put that message through. You're a very polished speaker, very, very well versed, well practiced, but if you noticed, he used dramatic pauses throughout, very well placed, to really stress and underscore the things he said and the things he was going to say. He also tied together not only his facial expressions to what he was saying, very, very, very well done, but also his hand gestures as well. It wasn't just pumping with hands, which it's so easy for us to just get caught up, especially us Latins. It's just really how we speak, right? But if you noticed, he threw in very practiced maneuvers, whether it was here, whether it was one hand, both hands tying together, they all gelled with what it was he was saying, and he moved along, but he moved with purpose. He didn't just pace back and forth like Chris Rock doing a stand-up bit. He moved with purpose. He walked away, stopped when it meant something, and he had something else to say, and then he continued moving in one direction or the other. Every little piece of that, you tie it all together with the overall message, helped underscore the message and put it all out there and helped get all that communication through.
Thank you, Brandon
Love
Diaz.
it.
That was great.
Bum, bum, bum. Oh, you're still here. Well, since you're still here, allow me to do this. Right after that, we actually had the local area Toastmasters representative that was there in order to support us, and he kind of introduced what Toastmasters is. And let me go ahead and show you what he has to say about Toastmasters, and definitely go and check out the Toastmasters site. You can hit the button on there in order to find your local club. And again, if you are in the Miami area and you want to come and join us, come and check us out, ypetoastmasters.com. So go and check out this video and see you on the next one.
Yeah, we gotta go.
Oh, we got it.
Anna, we gotta go. Yeah, I just want to say thank you for coming today, and I mean, it's not every day that we get a chance to see you here, and for all the advice that you have given everybody.
Oh my God,
But again, I think that it's great that we have you here, and explain a little bit about how we can join and.
Sure thing. So does anybody here know what the official slogan for Toastmasters is? Anybody? Cover up my little things that I have here. Anybody here? Toastmasters is where leaders are made. That is the official slogan for Toastmasters, where leaders are made. We all approach Toastmasters for one reason or another, but most of the time, it's to become better established public speakers. That's just one of the many layers. In fact, there are many different leadership opportunities within Toastmasters, whether it's sitting on the e-board or sitting in as a timer, as an odd counter, as a grammarian. There are so many different ways to participate as a leader. Every little bit of exposure, every little bit of practice helps build you to that future leader you are destined to become. So I welcome and encourage you all to jump in. It is extremely affordable. It's probably lower per month than any streaming service out there. And you're working on you, building a better you, working on developing more professional skills, whether it's becoming better polished speakers, better leaders, more involved in interactions within the community, developing networking, meeting new people left and right. There's so many different opportunities that you're going to be exposed to by getting involved in Toastmasters. So certainly after this meeting, speak with your e-board members. The e-board, raise your hand. Speak with these individuals. They can help point you in the right direction to sign up for Toastmasters. Whether it's at this club, whether it's another club, the educational program is online. It's accessible via online. I was actually looking up some stuff on my phone. They're constantly working to improve it, and there's so many different ways that you can continuously develop, and there are many different paths you can take to focus on. You want to be better at comedic speaking, engaging humor is a path available for you. You want to be better at becoming a dynamic leader? There's a path for that, right? Just like there's an app for that, there's a path for that. Get involved, participate. You will certainly be thanking yourself much later down the road.